Good day riders, we've been known as the helmet review channel for quite some time now. We've been gathering data of helmets for over 5 years and have tested hundreds of helmets by now, so it's fair to say that we know what we're talking about. We've gathered all of the data of today's full face, adventure and modular helmets of €400 or more and sorted them by brand to get a picture of which brand makes the best helmets. And in today's video we'll show you just that. And we'll try to answer which helmet brand can call itself the best across the board. In this overview you can see how many helmets have been taken into account. Every brand is represented by the 2024 collection, so without further ado, let's get started. Up first is material, and here we give helmet stars based on the material of the outer shell and the amount of outer shell sizes. Let's see the results. So we've got a three-way tie on top. HJC earned their place due to having both carbon and fiberglass composite helmets, but a high average amount of outer shell sizes for their helmets. AGV and LS2 earned 4 stars on average due to the fact that their top-of-the-line helmets are exclusively made of carbon fiber. Shoei prefers using fiberglass composite in their helmets with an average of 3 as outer shell sizes. And exactly the same applies to Arai. As for Scorpion, they end up at 3.5 stars because they only make 2 outer shell sizes for their modular and adventure helmet. And finally Schuberth and Shark at the bottom don't make any helmets with more than 2 outer shell sizes. Alright, time to find out which brands should pique your interest if you prefer lightweight helmets. Every helmet from every brand was weighed on the same scale in a size M without any additional features, so let's see how they performed. LS2 and AGV make the lightest helmets on average. For example, AGV has their K6S, the lightest sport touring helmet, and LS2 has their Thunder Carbon, one of the lightest race helmets on the market. Then a 4-way split. Shoei and HJC have a similar philosophy when it comes to designing helmets, and they don't care much for making the lightest possible helmets. Scorpion, however, has its fair share of lightweight helmets, like their sport touring and race-oriented carbon fibers. However, its average gets held back a bit by their adventure and modular helmets. And finally, if you're familiar with Arai and Schuberth, it should be no surprise to see them at the bottom here. Neither of them have a helmet under 1550 grams in their lineup. Alright, time to see which brand has the best visors, and we measure this with our visor matrix, in which all kinds of different visor features and characteristics are listed and weighed based on what riders ask us about the most. On top is Korean helmet manufacturer Scorpion. Their main advantage over the other brands is the fact that their top of the line helmets always come with an additional dark smoke visor in the box as an extra. Trailing just behind are 4 brands that also leave very little room for improvement as far as their visors go. They integrate sun visors in the sport touring, modular and adventure helmets and have consistently have a quality visor mechanism and a wide field of vision. Arai also makes quality visors, but for their helmets they refuse to integrate a sun visor in any of their models, which means that Arai misses out on half a star on average. While 3.5 stars on average isn't a bad result, Shark ends up at the bottom of the list because of their racing helmets, and they're not prepared for a pin lock lens. Instead they use an anti-fog coating, which tends to be a bit less reliable, especially when you wear them off track. Alright, now arrive at one of the most crucial criteria. It's time to see how these brands perform out on the road when it comes to noise isolation. First up, let's see which brands makes the quietest helmets. For more info on our testing method, check out the individual reviews. Let's see the results. Schuberth and HJC tie for first place. HJC actually holds the record for quietest helmet at the moment with their Alpha 91 managing an average of 95 decibels. However, Schuberth is always up there competing for the top spot. Just behind them is Shoei, a brand that also performs well in our noise isolation tests. Their helmets average at around 99 decibels. They tied with Scorpion, a brand that is a bit more inconsistent in this area. Their race and sport touring helmets perform extremely well here, but their modular helmets are much louder. The remaining brands on this list average at around 100 decibels and therefore end up at the bottom. Now for our second road test, we'll see which brand is most effective in keeping your head cool out on the road. Again, using accurate measuring equipment in the form of a thermometer inside the helmet. The results show that most of the helmets available today are perfectly capable of keeping your head cool out on the road. And a large part of the list sees very little differences between them. So, what happened to the brands that are near the bottom? Well, both Shoei and LS2 have an adventure helmet that does not ventilate as well as the rest of their helmet lineup, bringing down their average star rating. Scorpion, however, missed the mark ventilation-wise with their Exotech modular helmets. These helmets are one of the very few that do not have a traditional air exhaust on the back of the helmet, leaving less ways for warm air to escape the helmet. So, after many performance-related criteria, time to see what brands are the most comfortable to wear on average. It's a challenge to capture the comfort of a helmet into concrete numbers. That's why we weigh individual comfort features in combination with the verdict of our test rider who has over 17 years of riding experience and has also tested the other helmets on our channel and can therefore make a comparison like no other. The top 3 is exactly what you'd expect it to be. Schuberth, Shoei and Arai each have a well-known reputation for making very comfortable helmets consistently. Second place is another 3-way tie. All 3 brands earned 4 stars for pretty much all of their helmets, a very solid result, just slightly behind the top 3. LS2 and Scorpion unfortunately end up at the bottom, though it's worth noting that the average price point of both of these brands is much lower than the rest of the list, which means that these helmets offer great value for money. Now for our last criteria, features. We judge the features of every helmet using our matrix that lists many different features and are weighed based on what riders ask us about the most. Let's look at the results. Schuberth takes the lead with half a star here. Their main advantage over other brands is the fact that they integrate the same set of features into every one of their helmets, which means that the C5, the S3 and the E2 all performed very well in this segment. In this regard, HJC's Alpha series is very similar. Most of the helmets in that series are also prepared for the same set of HJC's own communication systems, but they don't offer the extra quality of life features like Schuberth does. For this segment, I'd recommend checking out our individual road tests to get a better understanding of how these helmets compare to each other features-wise. Okay, let's find out which brand packs the most value for money into their helmets. A very important segment with helmet prices ranging all the way into the thousands. To come to our ranking, we use 2 variables. First, the average amount of stars per brand, and then the average amount of euros you pay per star. Let's see the results. First place goes to Scorpion. The average price of a Scorpion helmet is around 442 euros, which is much lower than its competitors. Still, their helmets are able to keep up with their much more expensive rivals and in some cases outright beat them. LS2 is the runner-up, a brand that is making a name for themselves upon making value for money helmets. They have the lowest average retail price out of any brand in this list, but similar to Scorpion, are still capable of keeping up with the rest. And third, HJC just barely edges it out over Shoei. It's safe to say that HJC and Shoei are rivals to one another as they target a very similar segment of the market with their helmets, with their average prices sitting around the 600 euro mark. However, in recent times, HJC's Alpha series has been consistently strong in our road tests. Fifth goes to Schuberth, known for their dedication to luxurious quality helmets, and they've got 3 helmets out right now, the C5, the S3 and the E2. However, these helmets have been out for a little while now, and value-wise, they've been overtaken by recent helmet releases coming from HJC, Shoei and Scorpion. Now for the bottom 3, which features some of the most recognizable brands of this entire list. At the same time, they're by far the most expensive, and naturally, it's harder to perform well value for money wise the more expensive your helmet lineup is. Alright, time to crown a winner and reveal the final ranking. Starting with last place, and unfortunately this unwanted placing goes to Shark. Why? Price-wise, Shark is in a bit of a weird place at the moment. Their high-end collection now only features 2 very expensive race helmets and the Spartan series. They also lose out massively on material due to the fact that they only make 2 outer shell sizes for their helmets. 7th goes to LS2, which might be a bit surprising given their high placing in the previous segment, but making affordable helmets isn't enough to win the title. Generally speaking, they've got some catching up to do in terms of features and comfort, but it's worth noting that LS2 is much newer on the scene compared to most and has already been winning ground. So I'd recommend keeping an eye on LS2 in the future. Then Arai takes 6th. This brand has a very strong following across the globe, in part due to the fact that they have an unwavering dedication to making the safest possible helmet. That's why they don't integrate sun visors into their helmets. And this approach to helmets is what resonates with a lot of riders who of course want to protect their head as much as possible with their helmet. However, the current lineup does have room for improvement in terms of performance. They're heavy, they're rather noisy, and most importantly, they're very expensive. 5th place goes to AGV, home to one of the most popular helmets on the planet, the Pista GPRR, and their entire high-end collection is made up of very lightweight carbon fiber helmets with decent road test results. However, AGV has the single highest average price point, mainly due to the extremely expensive Pista GPRR, preventing them from placing higher. Scorpion takes home 4th place. They manage an impressive balance between price and performance in a lot of their helmets. Their Air 1 Racing series, but also their ExoTech, Exo 1400 and Exo GT helmets have been performing very well in their respective categories. That's why they end up in this place. Well done to Scorpion. Alright, the bronze medal goes to Shoei. Now 3rd place is a very strong result for any helmet brand, but for Shoei standards this might still be a bit of a disappointment. So what prevents them from placing higher? Well, the current lineup of Shoei helmets are rather heavy on average and somewhat limited on features and are slightly behind the competition ventilation wise. Now, we're down to the last two. Who'll take the title, HJC or Schuberth? The best helmet brand is HJC, which means that Schuberth ended up in 2nd place. So, how did Schuberth manage to place this high? Well, the current helmet range may be limited, their average performance per criteria is very strong and cannot be overlooked, especially in terms of noise isolation, ventilation, comfort and features. Then, the champion of this video, HJC, takes 1st place. But how did they manage this? Well, HJC has been adding to their Alpha series, which now spans multiple categories and is home to many different top scorers. This consistency in helmet quality is exactly why HJC ends up with the highest average star rating and ultimately wins this top 10. And that covers it for our brand battle. Which brand do you ride with and where did they end up in the ranking? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. You'll find every one of these brands at championhelmets.com, where we have the lowest price guaranteed and very sharp discount bundles. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in your feed. Guys, buy smart and ride safe. Until next time.